Welcome to Keep What You Earn, your judgment and jargon-free zone for entrepreneurs of all levels. Get ready to learn how to scale your business, save money in taxes, and create a business that grows your wealth. If it feels like the financial side of business is like eating your vegetables, well, then think of this podcast as the ranch dressing to make the process a little more enjoyable. My name is Shannon. I'm a CPA and business owner on a mission to simplify money and empower others through knowledge. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information we share is for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start the show. Hey, welcome back to the show. So, I wanted to share something with you that's been happening recently as my inbox fills up with requests from people around exiting their business. So, we get a lot of requests for help with things like valuations or like providing the information for the valuation or for in general just doing some type of preparation for an exit. So, it's kind of like cleaning up. It's almost like doing a house cleaning before you do a showing or an open house or when you're going to go sell your home, right? So it's like having the staging done and cleaning up everything. So we come in and we will at least do a review of the books and give you some recommendations, right? But what's coming up a lot is when these requests come in, people don't realize how much of a process this actually is to go through the process of exiting your business and to prepare your business for sale. Because I think what a lot of people misunderstand is that, a lot of these transactions do seem to happen quickly and they can, but some of the devil's in the details, so to speak. And I think that as you go through the process of, the contracts, the legal and all that stuff, the less you do ahead of time, the longer that process will take. So, what I wanted to do was kind of go through with you a very simple series of steps that I follow that I would recommend anybody look at as the life cycle of selling your business or exiting your business. And the first and foremost thing is to clarify what your goals are. Are you looking to sell? Are you looking to buy out a partner? Are you looking to, you know, scale it, have somebody take it and run with it and multiply what you've done? What is your vision for what they're going to do with it? Because that will help you find a strategic buyer. That will help you find somebody that you can transition it over to, and they will help fulfill on that mission, hopefully, just so that you feel a little bit more peace of mind knowing that what you created is going to make it all the way to the finish line with somebody else. So when you think about your goals, think about, what is it also you want to extract from this transaction financially. So, the valuation is really key of the company. And a valuation is more than what's in the bank account. We'll go into that in a whole nother episode, but a valuation of a business is really what is the value of the opportunity to own this? That's really what it is. The opportunity to own this and back out the cost of owning it, the obligations that come along with owning it. So the value is really the net of those two things. And when you think about it, you want the highest valuation possible, right? But you have to look at what cash flows can you reasonably expect given the industry multiples, given what other businesses around your size have sold for. You have to do your research and you have to understand, hey, this is what likely I could sell it for right now. And then you also have to realize, hey, if I did a little bit of, for example, in a house like bathroom remodeling, could I sell it for more? Could I get more equity out of this? We always think about those things. And if you could implement some SOPs or if you can, install the right team and, you can mitigate certain risks around it, which we'll talk about, then you can really position your business well to be high value. So, number one is really clarify your goals and obtain some type of valuation to get yourself started on, hey, this is what your business is probably worth, and see how you react to that. Do you like that number? Do you not like that number? And then you can take the next steps necessary to raise that number if you want to. Um, so step two would be once you have that number in your mind, like, I want to make this much money. My business is worth this much money. Okay, great. Now we have to optimize and we have to prepare. So we have to prepare for a sale. We need to make sure that we are profitable. We need to make sure we have a clean bill of health for the business, that we're cash flowing, and that we have organized financials, organized data. We have to make sure that we are presenting the business in a very attractive way and that we're being really clear about what somebody is purchasing when they come to purchase our business. So it's really about presentation, but it's also just about the substance of what you're presenting and making sure it's valid, making sure that it's legit. And I think that people overlook this. They kind of go, "Oh, it's a business that makes this much money. Like who wouldn't want that?" Yeah, but you have to dig deeper into the financials. And if you're looking to buy a business, this is where you really want to be digging a lot deeper and you want to be asking questions. So a savvy buyer should be asking lots of thought-provoking questions. And you have to be ready for those things if you're selling. So we have to optimize and we have to prepare. It's just a really big piece of the puzzle here. The other thing to do to prepare is you want to address any sort of licensing, legal, compliance stuff, loans that you have, what is your plan for growth? What does your forecast look like? And have all of that handy in case people ask. And the more that you have this readily available, is really you're in a better position to be trusted. So this is actually where in this phase when you have somebody who may be, interested in buying your business, having all of this prepared ahead of time builds trust. And when you build trust, the person who you're transacting with is more likely to not just go along with, I'm looking for the word here, but to agree to your terms because they don't really have any better data. So the name of the game in any transaction like this is who has better, more reliable, more rational data that would be truthful. So it's really key here that you're keeping track of all your numbers and that you're able to present them. And another thing too is with the legal side of things, you want to make sure you're structured properly. You want to make sure that you have all of the right things in play on how you want to, transfer things, contracts, transferring insurance policies, things like that. Like just keep that in mind and take an inventory of what would have to actually happen when you sell your business. Like how much would have to transfer over. Just it would be great to have that little checklist that you build over time to say, "Ooh, I'm gonna have to do that if I decide to sell." And then the other thing is you really wanna identify what type of sale you wanna do. So, there's a stock sale and there's an asset sale, and I'll explain fundamentally, not the math, but I'll explain fundamentally what they mean. So, a stock sale fundamentally is you're selling shares of your company. So, they're overtaking your company, and your company will still own the business. Now in an asset sale, it's a little bit different. It means that you're selling everything the company owns, but you still have the company. So it's going to sound kind of silly, but like imagine if I'm saying you're either selling the house with all the furniture in it or you're selling all the furniture, but you keep the house. That's kind of what I'm saying here. And there's no wrong way to do it. There's no better or worse way, like blanket. But I think that, depending on the types of fixed assets that you have, like vehicles, equipment, and such, you want to be careful with making this decision because there will generally be a much more beneficial option for you. So I would not take this decision lightly. I would talk to a tax advisor. I would talk to a lawyer, someone who's experienced in this area, and say, hey, if I had the choice between an asset sale or a stock sale, here are my financials. Which one would you pick? Or which one would you lean toward? And you probably will get an answer.
Hey, Shannon here, and I have a quick favor to ask. If you're enjoying this podcast and enjoying this episode, please leave us a review on your podcast platform, whether that's Apple, Spotify, Amazon, any of them, and let us know if you're enjoying the show. One of your biggest takeaways, we would really, really appreciate it. Okay, back to the show.
Okay, next I want to talk about risks. So, on top of just optimizing and preparing for a possible sale, you want to be thinking about risk management. So, you're going to have to really deal with a lot of the legal, financial, customer risks. Do you have customer concentration? This is a big one. Okay. Customer concentration and this over reliance on you. So, this is a big risk, actually. So, customer concentration is really about having too many or really too few big customers that take up most of the pie chart of how you make your money. Where if one customer were to leave, it would be just catastrophic to the business. And here's why that matters in a sale because it's understood that there could be attrition when you sell your business. It's understood that some clients are going to be very loyal to you personally and to your team personally. So when you sell your business, there's a higher likelihood that clients will leave, will not go back to the new person. Your team could leave, and then maybe your clients leave because your team is leaving. So, any clients who are specifically attached to a relationship in your company, you have to be careful about assuming that they're gonna be there for the long haul, even when ownership changes. This is something that I've always struggled with in the professional services area, like what I do. I've always thought about, well, if I'm a CFO and I'm working with all my clients, if I were to I mean, heck, if you're listening to the show and I were to sell Keep What You Earn to somebody else, would you still listen? Maybe, maybe not, right? Maybe you like the style of how I deliver these episodes, and maybe it's like, yeah, that other person, it's not the same. I like Shannon better, which is fine. Or hey, maybe the opposite. Who knows? But when you get used to something, change is always going to create a shift. So you have to be ready to understand that hey, things could change, and it's going to soften everything. We have to make sure that we're ready with less concentration in certain clients. And along with that comes the risk of employees leaving. And if you don't have good SOPs in place, this further worsens the problem because there may be an over reliance on certain key employees, maybe you, maybe you as the owner. So you have to keep in mind that if you don't want to be on, and I've seen this happen before, by the way, where sometimes the over reliance on the owner yields a situation where the owner must stay on for an extra year, 2 years to basically, fulfill a job duty because they were so embedded in that duty when they were there that the business can't operate to the same level of performance without that person. So, imagine this. Imagine you break up with your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, right? Imagine you break up with your significant other. And then they say, "Okay, like, we're gonna break up, but I need you to come on dates with me for the next 2 years." I know it's an extreme example, but it might be how it feels. Imagine selling your business. I can't imagine doing this, and I definitely when Jason sold his business, I was thinking about this and, like, that would suck if he was kind of in an employment role where you're in the business that you built, where you were in control, and now you're no longer in control, and you have to be a employee, and you have to do what the other people say. That would drive me insane, personally. So, I think that you wanna position yourself where you can exit cleanly and you don't know what happens next. I think you need to get out of that chapter. That's my personal opinion. I think if you stay and see what transpires and you're too close to the process, it's going to mess with you, and it's gonna give you a little bit of unsettling feeling. So, we talked about risks, and then we have to be talking about what type of buyer you want. So, my sort of, like, 4th tip here is figuring out your who is the buyer? Right? Are we looking at a strategic buyer that's gonna grow the business? Are we looking at just somebody who has enough cash to buy it, which is totally fine. It doesn't have to be more deep than that. But who are you looking to have purchase it? And is it somebody who could then take it and integrate it with their business? Maybe it's a competitor who's a little bit bigger. Maybe it's a private equity firm. Maybe it's somebody who knows your industry really well. So I would just make sure that they're in a position to succeed, especially, and here's the thing, like totally from lessons learned, right? If they're not positioned well to succeed, but you also have terms in your contract when you sell your business, very often the terms will not be like, you know, someone's going to buy your business for, say, $2 million. And you don't just get that money on day one. Sometimes, yes. But typically, there will be terms like there'll be some type of upfront payment and some type of ongoing pay schedule of sorts. So if you have to wait, say, 1, 2, 3, 5 years to get your payments, you need to make sure you have a vested interest now in that business succeeding and going on without you. So there's a whole bunch of like incentive there to build something that will be long lasting and to make sure they're successful. So you have to make sure you understand what your role is, how much control you have, how you can help the business succeed even after you sell it. If the business's success will drive your monetary gain. And this is also why, by the way, I would generally say negotiate the terms as closely as you can, even if you have to take less money to get paid faster. Especially if you're not sure of the risk of the buyer and them knowing your industry or knowing how to succeed in your industry. I think that you want to minimize your own risk there. But, if you can find someone who you can trust that will grow the business, then this is a great combination. So this actually transitions really well into my final tip, which is negotiate, negotiate, negotiate. And that the terms of the agreement, the terms and how you agree to sell your business are where you win. I don't think you win on price, you win on terms because the terms will dictate how and when you get paid, by how much, what your role is going to be, what your commitments are to the company thereafter, and just in general, like how you want the transaction to go down. So I think that terms are where we spend most of our time. I think when I deal with exits, the price is pretty quick because we either get a valuation done, an independent valuation, or the offer is made to purchase and the seller decides to take the offer. There's really very little price negotiation that's happening. And usually I come in after the price has already been agreed upon to then figure out how this is going to go down and whether we can make this transition and who's going to gain what from it. And I think that it's a really key aspect to really think about the terms of how you want to get paid, how the cash flow is going to look, and even kind of forecast out, and not to mention the tax impact, by the way, of having a huge tax bill, say in the first year when you get a lump sum versus say a certain amount per year that keeps you within a certain tax bracket. But you also run the risk of having to wait for that money. So there's this trade-off. And you have to decide. There's no right answer, wrong answer, but you have to decide what is best for you. So the key here is when it comes to selling your business, there's a lot of things you have to consider going into this. And there's a lot you should probably be thinking about, maybe even journaling on, maybe just sitting down after listening to this episode and going, hey, if I got an offer for X million dollars, whatever it is, have it be some weird pie in the sky number of what you would sell your business for. Think about like a no brainer yes. Okay. What's a no brainer yes for you? Maybe it's like 5 million, right? Okay. Someone came to me and said, $5 million, I'll buy your business. Like, absolutely, I will. Okay, great. So now let's work into what would you be willing to accept? How would you be willing to accept that money? What type of role would you want to have? Would you want to just be like, nope, give me my money, I'm getting the F out of here? Or do you want to just stay on? So just think about how that feels and start making a note of exactly what you want there because I think our judgment gets clouded sometimes when we have that offer in front of us and we're not sure, hey, like, is this really what I want? And it sounds like a lot of money and, oh, we can make it work. But if you go back to that thing you wrote down and you're like, this is what I want, and that's not it, I promise you, you can find what you want, but you have to be sure about what that looks like. And I think that people will react to the offers that come their way as opposed to, call it manifesting or call it, being intentional about attracting the type of offer they want to because they're really clear about what they're looking for. So take this with you, start processing, hey, what would that actually look like for me? And by all means, feel free to reach out if you are thinking about selling your business because this is one of our favorite things to do here at Keep What You Earn.
We realize that CFO services may not necessarily be accessible to everybody. And that's why we have packaged our CFO services into a power session for you. With this single purchase session, you'll be able to navigate the financial scorecard with me personally on your business and figure out what constraint you need to unlock next. We're going to give you direction, clarity, and we're going to find ways to increase your profitability, increase your cash flow, and make sure you never run out of money. Okay, if you're interested in booking a power session with me, I only do a couple per month, so make sure you jump on quickly and sign up. Check the link in the show notes for more information. I can't wait to see you in a power session. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and review on your podcast platform. This small action goes a long way for podcasters to get our message heard by more business owners just like you. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to information about our guests and ways to get in touch with me. We'll see you on the next episode.